There are plenty of things to do in Star Citizen that suck up a great deal of time, with preparation beforehand, traversal, to actual gameplay. But sometimes, for those shorter sessions, with just half an hour to hop in game, it can get a little tougher to know what to do. I'm Forrester, and this gameplay video shows a short session of salvaging some panels, taking around half an hour to pop out with the Vulture and grab some materials. This video is intended to be more of a gameplay video than a salvage tutorial, although there is one available on the channel if that's what you are looking for. Some smaller portions have been sped up, such as travel time, and those parts are marked as such, but otherwise this video covers the full salvage session. The original trip was around 35 minutes from start to finish, with a little longer to optionally sell up. But, introductions aside, let's head out salvaging. And thanks to the hangar spawn in patch 4.3, it's straight into the hangar to pull up the Vulture. As you can see from the lower left, I have increased the speed of the replay a little bit, that's just to keep the overall length of the video down. I do have the Vulture. I can also see on the left hand side of the hangar here that the Fortune is out. I've opted to use the Vulture for this. It's my personal preferred option for salvaging, and my Fortune was just bought with some in-game funds that I had left over. This Vulture also carries the Icebreak livery, a fantastic white and blue paint scheme, which I absolutely love. Setting off from the hangar, and a nice view there of that livery with New Babbage in the background. I'm heading out this time for salvaging some panels, so I'll head to one of the Lagrange points. That can be a good place to find little salvage panels as well as minables. It's not too far away, so I'd cut down the travel time to get there. In this case, because I am on the sunny side of Microtech, I'll be heading to Mike L1. If I was on the darker side, I'll be heading to Mike L2. And then make the climb up before jumping into quantum travel. Speed up the quantum travel a little bit. Actually, the quantum drive here is pretty good for a short hop like this. It wasn't a particularly long quantum trip. And then as soon as we get out here, switching to scanning mode. Searching around for anything of interest that has a signature that is divisible by 2000. So at the moment that was 5700. We know that must be a mining rock. And just looking for something that's divisible by 2000 to indicate salvage panels. That could be anything from 2000, 4000, 20,000, but that nice round number is a giveaway that it's highly likely to be panels. Panels is my preferred salvage option, particularly with the Vulture and the Fortune, because the hopper size is quite limited at 13 SCU compared to the Reclaimer. It means that you're not mixing materials in the hopper, so you just get RMC, which makes that feel slightly more efficient. And here we have 16,000, which is indicative of there being 8 panels here, which is perfect for a short half-hour salvage session. It's worth adding that salvage does become a lot more efficient if you are out for longer because you've got less travel time and things like that. So it is one of those game loops that does benefit from having longer spent, but equally just being out for half an hour, if you wanted a chilled salvage session, it is very, very doable. Starting by salvaging one of these large panels. My preferred loadout on the Vulture is dual abrade, so you'll see that I've swapped out the tractor beam that is defaulted on there for a second abrade instead. At some point I should probably swap that tractor beam back in, probably for one of the cinch modules, and that would just help me if I do accidentally nudge something just to help stabilize it. But in terms of the salvage itself, my preferred is dual abrade. And here my method is quite simple. I prefer fixed over gimbals simply because when I'm using fixed mode I can really be sitting back. I've got my joystick and my rudder pedals, and I can be doing very light work with each of those rather than having to move the mouse. For me personally, when I'm in my gaming setup, that is a little easier, so using fixed salvage heads is my preferred method. And here, the nice relaxing process of just disintegrating the target, a little bit of painting in space. It is quite relaxing. I do like Salvage for this kind of gameplay of just sitting back and chilling and essentially doing Power Wash Simulator or whatever you might like to call it. It's not the most involved game loop compared to some others, and it certainly doesn't have the best payout compared to some others, although it is fairly consistent if you can find panels like this. But for me, it's definitely relaxing. So it's been a long day, and I just want to kick back and relax. Salvage panels is the way to go. So at this point, just flipping over to the other side of this large salvage panel. The panels come in different sizes with different amounts of materials on them. This is the largest size, my preferred size if I'm out grabbing some salvage panels usually, and I usually try to tackle these first just because they're, I think, the most satisfying to break through and pick up a fair amount of RMC from. And I can see on the top that it's down to 16% left on this panel, so I'm doing a good enough job to grab the materials. I'm not somebody who is minded to completely strip them. If I've missed a little bit and it's got a few percentage left at the end, so be it. I'd rather move on to the next one than pick it completely clean. But got almost 5 SCU from this one, which I'm happy with, and the recycled material composite does sell fairly well, so yeah, it's a nice little bit of profit going into the back of the Vulture here. Of course, the other advantage of going for salvage panels over the salvage contracts is that there is no real outlay. You don't have to pay for a contract, you don't have to pay for a claim to find. You can just go out, find some panels, and break them into pieces. Well, strip them down to nothingness, and you don't have to pay anything for it. Just checking that there's nothing left on that one. No, definitely 0%. I'm happy with that. 5.2 SCUs from it. So now I'll start tackling some of the next panels. I knew that the signature for this area was 16,000, so I'm expecting there to be 8 panels of different sizes. So that was number 1. This is number 2. Because you've seen me do the salvage, I will speed up the footage for the rest of these. You can see on the bottom left it's on ×4 speed, which just moves through them a little bit quicker, so you can still see the actual gameplay, you can see the process, but you're not sat watching it in real time. So there's that next panel completed. I'm up to 10.4 SCUs now in the hopper. So the hopper in the Vulture will take up to 13 SCUs. I usually tend to get just above 12, and then once I'm safely above 12, I'll go and organise my crates before heading out and salvaging some more. This is one of the medium-sized panels. There isn't quite as much material on this one as those larger panels, but it's still some tasty RMC that will end up going into the hopper. And just as that panel is pretty much done, we're up to 12.5 SCUs in the hopper. It's time to go downstairs and organise some crates. And this is where the key difference between the Vulture and the Fortune comes in. In this case, in the Vulture, you have to move your crates and organise them yourselves, whereas in the Fortune there is the option to automatically export those crates to the cargo grid, saving you a little bit of time and a little bit of convenience. I'm okay with this. I've been flying the Vulture for some time, so I kind of know where I want things to go as I'm unloading the crates here. The grid on the Vulture will take up to 12 SCU of crates. It's a 2 high, 3 long, 2 wide grid, but I prefer to also go a little bit off grid. That lets me store a little bit more in my Vulture, and it means that I know in my head that between the hopper and what's on grid and off grid, I can head back with up to about 36 SCUs of cargo quite comfortably, which is a nice round number for the way that my brain works. So I tend to load from the rear to the front, and I will also load off grid from this first offload, this first export from the hopper. So I've got there 4 SCUs on the grid at the back, and I've now thrown another 2 SCUs off grid in the walkway. So in total, although there was 12.5 SCUs in the hopper, I'm only going to be unloading 12 SCUs here. The hopper can only unload a full SCU's worth, but 12 again is a nice round number. It means that I'll know more or less what's happening in the back here. And then I've completed 3 of the salvage panels of the 8 that we found to get this 12, but 2 of those panels have been the largest type, which is my preferred size. So we'll have to just see what size the remaining panels are for how much more salvage we might get from this. And then I'm just going to disable the auto eject before heading back up. I just find I like to be in control of when boxes are coming out. Even when that auto eject is on, I want to have one removed before the next one pops out, just to avoid any potential issues. So go back to salvaging again. And here we've got another medium-sized panel, so just start to salvage that one and make my way. This is going to be number 4 of the 8. Now we have another couple of SCUs from that one. Find the next one that we haven't yet salvaged. This one will be number 5. Now we have another couple of SCUs from that. And then we have another one. This will be number 6 of the 8. You can see on times 4 speed it really shows how quick and efficient this can feel. Obviously it is 4 times less quick when you're actually doing it, but still, once you've actually found the panels, it's pretty good. Then we have a small one here to grab as well. So there we have it. There is another panel somewhere, but I'm running up to the 30-minute mark, so I'm now going to head back to make sure that I'm staying true to the idea of the half-hour session. Clearly, depending on how flexible you are or aren't, heading back, that may or may not be an issue, and you may have stayed to sweep up a little bit more. And there's a nice view of that Vulture above Microtech just while I wait for the quantum drive to cool down. The other advantage of this type of 30-minute activity is once you've unloaded the crate, you don't necessarily have to sell them straight away. So in here, I'm heading back to New Babbage, which is where my home hangar is. It's not necessarily the best place to sell in terms of the amount of UEC you get. It's usually about 8,500 per crate here. There are other places that get more, including Horizon, which tends to be a good spot. But this is my home, so I'm not going to chase that last little bit of efficiency. It's quite easy for me to unload here, and then I'm unloading to my home location. If you are pressed for time, unloading and then selling later could be an option, as long as there's not a patch or anything like that that might lose these items. They'll just be stored in your planet's inventory, so you could sell them at a later point. In this case, I've managed to get 19 SCUs of RMC, which isn't going to set any records, I don't think, but actually for a nice little half-hour salvage session does me just fine. It's a tidy little piece of profit, helps with my alpha UEC balance, but moreover, I was doing this to enjoy playing the game rather than to make a fortune. There are definitely more profitable options if you're on for a shorter time, more profitable game loops, but this was about enjoying a half-hour session of doing some salvage, so I'm quite happy to make a little bit of alpha UEC whilst doing so. And at this point, I'm just unloading the last few crates that were in the hopper, getting them neatly on the freight elevator before I can send them all down. And there we have it, 19 SCUs. So if this is a shorter session, there's no need to go and sell up right away. I will just show what that looks like, simply because I can do that through the magic of editing. In this case, just heading across to the TDD in New Babbage and selling up. 19 SCUs is worth 161,500 alpha UEC here, which is absolutely fine for me for a nice little enjoyable session. If you enjoyed this video, you might press the like button to let me know I should make more of these 30-minute session videos, and if you're not yet subscribed, given that you got this far, you might like to do that too, so that YouTube will know to show you more videos like this in future. But otherwise, and as always, thank you for watching.